10. Secrets and Mysteries. Have we ever been visited by other life forms? In this series, we plunge into the world of astonishing secrets and mysteries and delve into 10 extraordinary pieces of evidence that may support those who claim that our planet has been visited and observed by extraterrestrial civilizations over the millennia. Extraterrestrial, the most amazing evidence. 10. Mysterious disappearances. We will explore the mysterious disappearances of airplanes, ships and their crews. Be it ships from the 19th century or the recent disappearance of the Malaysian Boeing flight with 239 people on board, still in recent memory. These phenomena keep happening again and again. Is it possible that an advanced technology, far more advanced than any of our own technology, is behind these events? This is a theory that is widespread and convincing to many. Many pilots were terrified or baffled when they tried to pursue a UFO whose maneuvering capabilities were unmatched by even the most advanced fighter planes. We've heard all about the mysterious disappearances in the Bermuda or Devil's Triangle. They have been frequent and well documented. American Air Force Flight number 19 of 1945 is probably the most well-known and strangest case in the history of aircraft disappearances. Not just a single plane disappeared, but 5 TBM Avenger bombers at the same time. Disappearances are still happening even over land. In 1974, a military radar near Calgary detected 3 unidentified flying objects slowly approaching. They were pursued by a USAF fighter jet. Suddenly, communication between the pilot and the base was broken off. Neither the plane nor the pilot was ever seen again. Everyone is fascinated to find out what top-secret classified information regarding these mysterious disappearances is still kept in government military archives. Why does the Army not release it to the public? Whether they will ever do so seems unlikely. Perhaps this suggests that the reports about missing pilots and naval officers may indicate convincing proof of extraterrestrial intelligence. 9. Ancient texts. The Swiss author and researcher Erich von Däniken attracted public attention with his radical interpretations of ancient texts, so vastly different from the generally accepted interpretations. His book, Chariots of the Gods, became an instant bestseller. He created more controversy by asserting that the prophet Ezekiel described a noisy machine with wheels and wings. So our ancient ancestors, as Däniken and many of his followers believe, must have encountered aliens. These encounters were so fantastic, they mistook the aliens for gods. This is his theory. Many other texts have been studied from this perspective. It appears that the histories of ancient nations tell such tales. For example, stories from the Assyrian, Sumero-Babylonian era and the region of Mesopotamia feature many divine beings traveling in machines that emit smoke, fire and noise. Many researchers regard excerpts from the Indian epic Mahabharata to be probably the most convincing record of alien encounters in ancient texts. For example, the destruction of 3 heavenly cities. Shiva, who rode this beautiful chariot made from all heavenly powers, was preparing for the destruction of the 3 cities. When the 3 cities came together in the firmament, the god Mahadeva pierced them with that terrible shaft of his, consisting of 3 knots. The Danavas were unable to gaze at that shaft inspired with Yuga fire and composed of Vishnu and Soma. Objections that these are simply metaphorical stories that require symbolic interpretation are rejected by Däniken and his supporters. They say that anyone who sees only symbols in these stories does not know the whole story. 8. Area 51. There are apparently many secret US military bases devoted to the study of aliens and unexplained phenomena on Earth. The most well-known is Area 51, a remote part of Edwards US Air Force Base in the Nevada desert, north of Las Vegas. It's also known as Dreamland, Paradise Ranch, Home Base, or Watertown. It's probably the most famous military base in the world and is extremely well secured as a restricted area. Getting into the compound without a special permit is virtually impossible. The intense secrecy around the base has made it the frequent subject of conspiracy theories and a mainstay of UFO folklore. What its actual purpose is remains unknown. Top-secret programs probably include the testing of experimental aircraft, new aeronautical technology, and weapon systems. Edwards Air Force Base has the longest runway in the world and tanks for storing liquid oxygen, a rocket engine fuel. Unquestionable connections with secret aeronautical research and a series of strange phenomena brought Area 51 into the center of UFO speculation and conspiracy theories. In response to a Freedom of Information Act request filed in 2005, the CIA publicly acknowledged the existence of Area 51 for the first time in 2013. Unusual activities attributed to Area 51 consist of storaging, testing, and reverse engineering crashed alien spaceships, including material allegedly secured in Roswell, the study of creatures found in these ships, both alive and dead, and the construction of aircraft based on alien technology. Seven. Strange artifacts. Many researchers are fascinated by the discovery of artifacts and objects that, from the perspective of history and human evolution, belong firmly within the sphere of unexplained mysteries. Let's examine those that may have some connection to the presence of extraterrestrial entities on Earth. One of the most debated of recent discoveries is the so-called Antikythera mechanism, discovered in a shipwreck off the Greek island of Antikythera in 1900. It's believed to date from 150 to 250 BCE. Differential gears weren't used until the 16th century, and the level of miniaturization and complexity equals clocks made as late as the end of the 18th century. An even greater mystery, and one that sways us towards an extraterrestrial interpretation, is the Iron Pillar of Delhi in India. It's indisputable that it is not a forgery. It's been standing in the Qutb complex for more than 1600 years. What is astonishing, however, is that it doesn't show any signs of rusting. How could our ancestors create something that would require modern equipment and the technology of pure iron production? In 1959, a paleontological expedition chanced upon a shocking mystery in the Gobi Desert. They found a footprint which was millions of years old, but looked just like the print that the American astronauts left on the moon. Was an astronaut walking the Earth about the same time as the dinosaurs? Similar findings are being made all around the world. Scientists often find a rational explanation, yet in many cases it seems that these discoveries don't easily fit into any known historical or scientific context. 6. Crop circles. Our top 10 wouldn't be complete without the phenomenon of crop circles. Some researchers claim that crop circles represent attempts by extraterrestrial intelligence to establish contact with Earthlings through graphic symbols. This theory is supported by hard-to-explain magnetic and psychotronic manifestations, energy fluctuations, and observations of luminous flying objects in the vicinity of these crop circles. We might justifiably doubt these theories in the light of Doug Bowers and Dave Chorley's confession that some of the British crop circles were of their creation. It's been argued that 80% of the circles are man-made and 20% are made by someone or something else. But by whom? Is someone trying to communicate with us? If so, why?
Massive blasts of light, orbs of light hovering at the side of the field. And these are things that to us are inexplicable. We can't explain them. And so I'm completely open to the fact that even if the formation we've made is man-made, we feel that they're still genuine because they seem to catalyze other paranormal events. I mean, there has been footage of UFOs lifting out of crop circles we've made.
Some years ago, an English researcher, Thomas Roy Dutton, made an astonishing discovery. He used a computer algorithm to analyze aerial views of crop circles and formations and found out that all the patterns that were never proved to have been man-made are based on the same mathematical model. The advanced nature of whatever or whoever communicates through them is also demonstrated by the fact that the crops are not broken in the flattened area, and after some time they are usually capable of growing again. The question remains, who or what is the author of the unexplained 20% of all crop circles? If we can find an answer to this question, we may ultimately understand the meaning hidden within the circles. 5. Close encounters. Another important aspect of the search for evidence of extraterrestrial life is the many allegations of direct encounters with alien entities and beings. These were so abundant that the term contactees was established and is used for people who claim to have a personal experience with aliens. These usually say that they've been given a message or certain knowledge. The highest occurrence of contactee testimonies was in the 1950s, which allegedly can be related to the aliens' interest in the human use of nuclear power. People who've made a different kind of contact with aliens are called abductees. Their experience of alien abduction is different from that of contactees in that they rarely see it as a positive experience. Probably the most famous abduction case, which spawned a movie, took place on the 5th of November 1975 in Arizona. A group of lumberjacks were returning home from work in the woods. Even today, they still all agree that they witnessed an alien spaceship hovering motionless in the air. There was a ray of blinding light, and one of them, Travis Walton, disappeared. His colleagues drove off in fear. Travis Walton was missing for 5 days. When he reappeared, he remembered unpleasant experiments on board an alien aircraft. His testimony was never disproved, and he successfully passed a lie detector test. In analyzing the statements of people who claim to have encountered and been abducted by aliens, we find certain identical features. In the first place, there's the UFO sighting, then the experience of an intense ray of light and a crackling sound, followed by paralysis while remaining fully conscious. After this, they claim to have been transported into the alien spaceship. There is no proof that this has ever happened. Real evidence of unidentified alien aircraft remains unavailable, but perhaps we can assume that if such an aircraft did actually crash, the information would be unlikely to be released to the public. 4. Top secret projects. All technologically advanced states have budgets designated for programs and projects that are kept secret from the public. Some of these programs can be considered to be clear proof of extraterrestrial activity on Earth. There's a group called Majestic 12, or MJ-12, the code name of an alleged secret committee of scientists, military leaders and government officials formed in 1947 by an executive order of President Harry S. Truman after a series of UFO sightings above US territory. Even today, MJ-12 is shrouded in mystery and remains the source of many conspiracy theories. Allegedly, the organization has transformed into an elite committee of scientists and officials with greater authority than the CIA, subordinate only to the president. What unquestionably fell under its competence was Project Aquarius, a program closely related to UFO activity. It was officially named in 1960, but there are speculations that it was established at the behest of President Eisenhower already in 1954. The project gradually switched from the secret to top secret classification and finally reached the highest degree of classification, top secret ORCON. The project's goal was to gather all scientific, technological, medical and media information linked to sightings and encounters with unidentified but also identified alien life forms. This stringently analyzed, documented and organized information was later used in advanced technological research, according to some of the project's participants. The surviving documents, whose authenticity cannot be proven, show that MJ-12 was gradually transformed. In the 1970s, it bore the designation MJ-3, and in 1976, the materials supposedly affirm that alien technology they discovered was more advanced than ours by thousands of years. Most of these highly classified projects are not concerned with the actual existence of alien life forms, but rather with the question of how these encounters can be exploited to achieve a technological leap. 3. High probability. Statistically, every star has at least one orbiting planet. Our galaxy alone is made up of more than 100 billion planets. Most of them are, at least in size, similar to Earth. Logically, we may deduce that the probability of our planet being the only one to host life among such a vast number is very small. Latest calculations have increased the probability of inhabitable zones in our galaxy, meaning that some planets, thanks to their atmosphere and distance from their star, fulfill the requirements for the presence of water and potentially of life. If we also consider the fact that life emerges spontaneously and even in very rough conditions, the scientists agree that there can be no doubt that we are not alone in the universe. The number of planets that are comparable to Earth in size is several times higher than the number of giant planets akin to Jupiter. There are an estimated 10 billion planets very similar to Earth. Besides the Milky Way, roughly 500 other galaxies have been discovered so far, and their numbers are similar to those of our galaxy. The probability of life outside our solar system is therefore nothing short of astonishing. And its possibility increases if we are willing to imagine that the emergence of life does not necessarily need to be dependent on the presence of liquid water. It may develop within another source. We don't know, however, what form such life might take. The likelihood of the existence of a civilization as developed as ours, or possibly even more advanced, is still much discussed. In the light of other facts revealed in our top 10, might we dare to imagine that this likelihood is very high? Many consider it a certainty rather than the possibility. 2. Space missions. Putting aside incidents when air forces from different countries have irretrievably and inexplicably lost their pilots, or when pilots on duty were shocked during their pursuit of a mysterious flying object, let's enter the sphere of space missions. A number of astronauts recounted that they came across objects in space which showed characteristics of controlled aircraft. During the Gemini 4 space program in 1965, the second US manned spaceflight, a UFO was sighted by the astronauts James McDivitt and his colleague Ed White. For about an hour, the cylindrical object kept pace with their ship. Photos taken by the astronauts were analyzed by mission control officers, but they were never officially published. Flying objects of extraterrestrial origin were allegedly also spotted by the crew of Apollo 11 in 1971. These objects are mentioned in transcripts of the communication between the crew of Apollo 11 and Houston Control Center. Buzz Aldrin, the second man to set foot on the moon, said he glimpsed an unidentified flying object during the flight. "I observed a light out the window that appeared to be moving alongside us," he said. There were many explanations of what that could be, other than another spacecraft from another country or another world. It was either the rocket we had separated from, or the 4 panels that moved away when we extracted the lander from the rocket, and we were nose to nose with the 2 spacecraft. Another who acknowledged the existence of alien life forms is the Russian cosmonaut Vladimir Kovalyuk, who spent 217 days on the space station Salyut-6 between 1977 and 1982. He even said that he saw unidentified flying objects explode. "I've seen many UFOs in space," the seasoned cosmonaut claimed. Moreover, the 62-year-old is still surprised by the silence of his colleagues. "I don't understand it when the other cosmonauts say that they didn't see anything unusual in orbit," he complained, and added that he saw many UFOs of various types, shapes, and sizes. One, unidentified flying objects. As we delve into the 10 most astonishing pieces of evidence that our planet has been visited and observed by alien civilizations, we certainly cannot miss the UFO phenomenon itself. Unidentified flying objects are associated with alien activity on Earth probably the most. As the development of technology continues, the likelihood of finding proof of an identified flying object from outer space increases sharply. The year 2015 saw a breakthrough when documents on UFO sightings by the Army were released to the public. The so-called Blue Book, although it's considered to be only a fragment of all the data in the American archives, declassified 130,000 pages of formerly top-secret material. Today, most of the cases are verifiably explainable as natural events, but 6% still remain a mystery. According to ufologists, this is clear evidence of the presence of aliens on our planet. The most debated UFO case took place in 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico. Speculation is still rife that the American Army discovered a crashed alien spaceship along with its crew. The US Air Force changed the official version of the incident several times in the following years. It was reported that a weather balloon had crashed at the site. To this day, UFO conspiracies abound, and ufologists believe it to be the biggest cover-up that still exists. Ufologists also consider the current disclosure project, led by Professor Stephen Greer, to be indisputable proof. Professor Greer gathered more than 500 testimonies of former army, government, and intelligence employees. The contents of these statements directly prove the existence of encounters with extraterrestrial technology.
We're watching a UFO on a radar that was hovering at about 80,000 feet. It sat there for about 10 minutes and then slowly descended until it dropped off the radar. It was gone for about 5-10 minutes, and then instantly reappeared at 80,000 feet, stationary.
Top 10 Secrets and Mysteries.